Hi everyone, my name is Imran and today we're going to be talking about attack surface management. We will also talk the role of attack surface management in running a successful vulnerability management program. We need to talk a little bit about what is an attack surface management and understand what does attack surface management mean. And to really understand what does ASM mean, we have to talk a little bit about what does attack surface mean. So anything regarding an organization that has a potential to be compromised or get attacked is actually called an attack surface of an organization. Subdomains, IP addresses, employees, load balancers, servers, web applications, internal portals, anything that potentially can be compromised actually consists the attack surface of an organization. And when we talk about managing these assets in such a way, we try to reduce the risk of exposure, and we try to reduce the risk of these assets getting compromised. It's actually called the attack surface management, where we basically perform different exercises and implement different security controls. And quick example on this would be, let's imagine that you have a lot of subdomains. Imagine you started an exercise within your organization where you discovered all your subdomains, you categorized them into production, dev, and staging. And then you said all the dev subdomains and staging subdomains, they have to be under VPN. We cannot expose them online. So this particular process, you actually reduce the risk of these assets being compromised, because now these assets are not online. They have less possibility of being attacked and compromised. And this process, actually a small exercise, we can consider this to be an attack surface management or attack surface reduction exercise. What's the benefit of running attack surface management within your organization? So one of the biggest threats that companies have is actually the shadow IT assets. And when I say shadow IT assets, I mean the assets are used and implemented within the organization without the approval, or without going through the vetting process, or without being examined by let's say the cybersecurity defense team, or the cybersecurity different teams within your organization, or without the approval. So those assets remain unmanaged within the organization. Risk from a security standpoint of view. And from the IBM report, it was found that 69% of businesses have unmanaged shadow IT assets. And the problem with these assets is, since nobody knows about them within the organization, nobody is really bothered to secure them, and they become an easy prey for attackers to target and get access to critical assets within the organization. The way attack surface management actually deals with this process is it encourages companies to have a three-step process, where we put forward different tools and techniques within the organization to do the asset identification. This includes subdomain enumeration, IP address enumeration, enumeration of existing employees, and categorizing assets into active and non-active assets. And then we also try to understand, why does those assets lie within our environment? What's the business context of those assets? We try to collect as much as information regarding those assets. Once we have full understanding of those assets, we then try to understand the risk associated with those assets. If we have IP addresses within our organization, we try to understand how many of them are public and how many of them are private. Do we have storage units within our infrastructure? If we do have them, what's the security policy on that? Are they all publicly accessible? Are they private? Or what's the permissions on that? Similarly, what services are we exposing? Are those services management level services that should only be accessible to some under the VPN or some other restricted access? So all these things we try to do through an attack surface management process. So it's a very managed way of detecting assets, then collecting information, enriching those assets with more information, and then trying to understand the risk, and later on actually taking the same data to actually do something called attack surface reduction, where you understand the risk and reduce the risk. Now we understand what does an attack surface mean, how does companies use it, and how can a company implement this three-step process to run an attack surface management within the organization. Now, the other part of this video, we wanted to discuss how can attack surface management complement your existing vulnerability management process, or how can, if you're looking to start an vulnerability management within your organization, how can an attack surface management complement that program within your organization. If we look at the traditional vulnerability management programs or traditional vulnerability scanning, whichever you want to call it, the problem with that is traditional vulnerability scanning focuses on the known assets. If you're using callers or Newsys, they will install agents on your systems, and then those agents will perform vulnerability scanning. And they work in such a way that you will have to provide them an asset catalog in order for them to work and perform scanning on those assets. The problem with this is that 69% of companies, they have shadow IT assets. They don't know about anything about those assets. Even if they have an asset catalog within the organization, those assets will not be into those catalogs. So even if they are providing, let's say, those assets to someone who's managing the vulnerability management solution, they will never know that we have these specific assets, because that's why they're called shadow IT, because nobody knows about them. This includes forgotten subdomains, unmanaged IP addresses, servers, web applications, desktop applications, and all sort of these things that a company might have, which are completely unmanaged. We have vulnerability management, which performs the scan, which finds the vulnerabilities, and we have attack surface management, which is more focused on discovery of new assets within the organization. So we can set up an ASM program within a company to actually have a continuous discovery of assets, detect subdomains, servers, desktop applications as soon as they are installed or released to the external internet. And then once we have the information, we can take those assets and put them into the vulnerability scanner to do the vulnerability scanning. We can complement the vulnerability management using the attack surface exercises that happen within your organization. And this will cover the lack of visibility that you have within your vulnerability management, because you will always have limited coverage within the vulnerability management from a discovery point of view, because vulnerability management solutions are not really focused or designed to do asset identification and discovery and expand the visibility within your network. They're more focused on finding as much as vulnerability. So you need an attack surface management solution within your organization in order to do the discovery part and take that information and complement the existing vulnerability management program. Take that asset information and put them into the scanner to start scanning. A similar solution to actually tackle a similar problem. So we have something called an attack surface management solution, and this solution is basically a fully automated solution which allows companies to perform attack surface management in a continuous manner. So this solution, I'm not going to go really deep into this solution right now. So this solution actually takes a little bit of information, for example, your domain name, what cloud do you use, and some other basic information. Do you have WAF and all sort of those things? And then it uses that information to perform external scanning. So it scans as much as it can regarding your organization and tries to find as much as asset information it can. It scans all the subdomains, web servers, IP addresses, certificates, DNS technologies that you're using within your organization. And then this information is actually presented in a tabular format. So how many subdomains do you have? How many IP addresses does your company have? This solution can be used to complement your existing vulnerability management solutions. If you have hundreds of, let's say, 100 IP addresses within your vulnerability management system, so performing monthly or weekly scans on using the solution can reveal some new IP running inside your infrastructure that might not be in the vulnerability management solution. So if we can have an integration between this solution and the vulnerability management solution and compare the asset data, so if there is any asset within this solution that's not in the vulnerability management solution, we can highlight it here. So we can complement your existing vulnerability management process using the attack surface management solution. So to get access to this solution for a quick demo, visit suit.snapsec.co/demo, where you can explore this solution, get access for a couple of hours, play around, see if